I am incredibly excited because in my hands is the Psychic Awakening Faith and Fury book. And what we're going to do is going to make a number of different videos. This very first one, we're going to be talking about the Adeptus Astartes. We're going to have another video specifically for Black Templars. And then we have a bunch of videos for each of the different Chaos chapters where we're going to go through and talk about all of the cool features that are involved. Are you excited?
Yes.
Awesome. There's some cool things in here that are going to be good for Dark Angels, but in general, there's some really good stuff that I think any Space Marine is gonna want to love. So let's talk about this. First things first, the Adeptus Astartes. Now, the big thing that these guys have is they've got chapter litanies now. So the doctrines, the Space Marine doctrines, which is that thing where they get -1 for heavy and -1 for tactical, depending on what phase of the game you're in. You only get that if your entire army is from the same chapter. If you mix and match and do Imperial Soup, where I'm Dark Angels and Space Wolves together, I get a disadvantage. Right? Make sense?
Yeah.
So the chapter litanies are something you only get if your entire army is from the same chapter. And it works for the successor chapters as well, which is pretty cool. So we have White Scars, Iron Hands, Imperial Fists, Ultramarines, Salamanders, and Raven Guards. Let's whiz through them and talk about what they are. The cool thing is it's a bonus that your chaplain gets just because your entire chapter is it. So it's just an extra litany they know. Now, that's going to be really important in a minute because we're going to talk about how you can upgrade your chaplains to a Master of Sanctity, and that will enable you to use 2 litanies per turn, which means you can get the benefit of both. So the White Scars one really benefits from that. So if this litany is inspiring, White Scars are in 6 inches, re-roll wound rolls. Now with the Litany of Hate, you can re-roll hit rolls. And if you make a Master of Sanctity, you get both. That means you're re-rolling hits and wounds in close combat.
That's really powerful.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? So you're going to do so much damage to that. You play with a lot of Deathwing Terminators. Obviously White Scars different, but if you had White Scars Terminators, they hit on 4s. But because of the Master of Sanctity, they would reroll failed hits. And then their Strength 8 Power Fists, wound on 2s, but you'd be able to reroll 1s.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really good, right? So and there's lots of things I think realistically, people will be maybe giving it a jump pack and moving around with some bikes. I can see that happening, but it's going to be really solid. Then we have the Imperial Fists. This lets them overwatch on a 5 or a 6 within 6 inches. The Centurion Devastators that a lot of people are using with these guys have 18 shots each. So are you going to want to charge 3 models that have 18 shots each, which is a stupid amount of shots. It's 54 shots, but you're hitting on 5s and 6s. So you're looking at, 12 shots are going to hit on average by the time you're charging?
5s and 6s?
Yeah, for Overwatch. Right? It's really strong, man. So, and that's just you're looking at 10 hits on the charge on that. So it's brutal. And then we have the Salamanders. I can't see people using this one as much. It lets units within 6 inches do heroic interventions. Maybe it's useful. You could, I can see it maybe with aggressors. Somebody charges a character in the aggressors counter, but not as much. The Iron Hands one gives +1 to strength of models within 6 inches. That's a pretty interesting one, but again, everyone's playing vehicles really. I don't know if there's the synergy that you want. Ultramarines, I think this one sucks. I'm sorry to say I love Ultramarines, but for advanced and charge rolls, they get to reroll 1s. And it's just, there's not many things you want to be charging into close combat with Ultramarines, So I just don't see that being used very much, especially not getting a chaplain to be able to do that. And then the Raven Guard one's really cool. It lets you fall back and shoot, and if you can fly, you can fall back, shoot, and charge. So I think that's really, really strong.
Oh,
yeah.
That's powerful.
Right, so now we're going to go through all of the different characters that you can upgrade. So first we have the Master of Sanctity. It's 1 command point, and this lets you, I spoke about this earlier, lets you 2 litanies. Now, what's cool about that, it costs 1 command point at the start of the game, you upgrade the character. You can only have 1 Master of Sanctity per chapter in the game. But then you can make it a Warlord, and there are 2 Warlord traits. One of them allows you to re-roll any litanies. That's the Wise Orator. That's going to almost guarantee that that this goes off, that the litany happens. And then the other one is Bellowing Firebrand, which adds 3 inches to the litanies. I think people are going to pick Wise Orator to make sure the litanies go off, rather than, there's no point extending it if I can't guarantee it's going to happen, right? But that's strong. And then you've got 2 relics you can give them. One gives it a 3-up and vulnerable save. There are not many things in the game with a 3-up and vulnerable save.
That's like adding a free storm shield.
Right, yeah, exactly. To the chaplain, which normally can't have one. So that's pretty strong.
No one wants to go up against that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just going to keep it alive to be able to bust out those litanies later on, And then we have the Emperor's Judgment, which stops anybody rerolling hits, wounds, and damage against your Master of Sanctity. Then we got the Master of the Forge. So this is your tech marine. You spend a command point, it becomes a Master of the Forge. There's a lot of people who are excited about that. My buddy, the manager of Games Workshop in South Austin, Colin, has an original Master of the Forge model, which is a model that used to be around a long time ago. So there's a lot of people who are excited about this for fluff reasons, and also it's pretty good. It will change the ability so it will automatically heal 3 wounds instead of D3. Right, yeah, it makes it really, really effective. I mean, somebody's killing your falchion, you're increasing a relic falchion. Yeah, 3 points a turn. And then you can give it the Warlord trait that allows you to add 1 to hit rolls for vehicles within 6 inches. So if you've got a vehicle heavy army, I can actually see this working with Iron Hands. A lot of people have an Iron Hands army and allow them to add 1 to hit rolls. The other thing is you can add 1 strength and characteristics of Dreadnaughts. Remarkably good because most Dreadnaughts have a strength of 7 and their Power Fist doubles it. The +1 strength makes you strength 8, double to 16. That's going to wound almost anything in close combat on a 2. And it gets an extra attack.
Wait. Strength 16 plus an extra attack?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be really strong in close combat. And then you've got 2 relics you can give the Tech Marine. One is the Mortis Machina. Basically a power axe, +3 strength, AP -3, and D3 damage. And if the vehicle fails its saving throw, it gets a mortal wound in addition. So, you know, makes it a little bit anti-vehicle-y. I can see it potentially being used, but probably not. And then the Endurance Protector, which is one I think will really be used. +1 to the toughness of the model, and he has a 4 up invulnerable save. I think if you're gonna, if you're gonna go with a Tech Marine Master of the Forge as your Warlord, you're probably gonna take that one. Then we have the Chief Librarians. This is 1 command point, and this lets them know 1 extra psychic power, and they can attempt to deny 1 extra. It doesn't let you cast 1 extra though, which is, I don't know, I was a little bit sad about that. I wanted to be able to cast an extra power. And then again, 1 command point to activate it. Then you get these Warlord traits. The first one, when a psychic test is taken for the Warlord, add 1 to the total. That's pretty strong. Boosts you, like you're casting Smite on a 4. It's pretty strong. And then High Scholar of the Librarians. You can generate psychic powers from any discipline they know the powers from, rather than from only 1 discipline. So that's pretty cool. It allows you to pick and choose multiple. Maybe there's some use for that, although I think the Psychic Mastery is the better one. And then you've got the 4-sword, Vinculum Vitae. It's a very powerful 4-sword. It's basically a 4-sword with +1 strength, and wound rolls of 6 do D3 mortal damage. This actually gives some real power to, especially like a Primaris Librarian, if you turn them into a Chief Librarian. So I can see that being used. And the Neural Shroud increases 12 inches to the range of the relic's psychic hood for its denying the witch and what have you. Maybe that's good, potentially. I think, I think I'd probably pick a relic somewhere else. Then we've got the Chief Apothecary. The first thing it allows you to do for 1 command point lets you re-roll the chance to bring a model back from the dead. That's great. And you can have it a Warlord. I don't know if do you want a Medic as the Warlord of your army?
Probably not.
Probably not. Feels like I'm going to go with the Master of the Forge instead, or the Librarian, but or the Chaplain. But if you did want it, you can have the Father of the Future. When an infantry or biker model loses a wound within 6 inches, roll a dice. On a 6-up, it's not lost. And if they already have the flesh is weak, then on a 5-up, it's not lost. So it basically gives a feel no pain to things around it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then the other one is Selfless Healer. It can try and give medical attention to 2 units instead of 1. And it says, and a unit that was provided with medical attention by its Warlord can provide it with the medical attention for a 2nd time in a turn. So it could either do 2 units or the same unit twice. That seems pretty good, but again, I think there's better Warlord traits.
I feel like if I had to choose the Chief Apothecary, I would choose the Selfless Healer.
Yeah, I could see that being pretty good. Although, honestly, the 6-up Feel No Pain is pretty strong. Iron Hands, maybe. I could see that. Whichever. Then you got a special bolt pistol, which is a strength 5 AP -3 bolt pistol. And if you shoot something that isn't a vehicle or a monster, the damage is D6.
What?
Yeah, so it's remarkably good at maybe taking out characters. So you could see that being like a sneaky thing. And then we've got the Healer's Aegis. Models have a 5-up invulnerable save within 1 inch. So 1 inch is pretty close, but it'd be pretty good with I'm not sure, maybe like a small bodyguard squad or something. So it could be okay.
Or like what I used to do. Or like if I surrounded one of my squads on an apothecary.
Yeah.
And then just walk them.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that could work. And then the apothecary could keep them alive. So you could maybe make some kind of little Death Star kind of effect. And then we have the Chapter Ancient. Now you love Chapter Ancient. So this one's pretty cool. It's 1 command point to upgrade them to the Chapter Ancient. And this will give you +1 to the leadership. And in addition, the banner has an area of 9 inches instead of 6 inches. So that's pretty strong. You can make him your Warlord. If so, all or infantry, bikers, and dreadnaughts within 3 inches can do heroic interventions. And then the other warlord trait is steadfast example. It essentially gives units the Defenders of Humanity ability within 3 inches of the Warlord. And if they've already got an ability, each model counts as one additional model when controlling an objective marker. So essentially, this guy allows people to do objective secured.
Oh, that's... So, like, if I had a squad of 5 tactical guys...
No, 5 Terminators or Veterans.
Oh.
If they're next to this guy, they basically have the troops ability. And if they're already troops, they count as double. So a squad of 5 counts as 10. So I can actually see that one being used. Yeah, it'd be a real surprise to someone when you stick an Ancient next to some Centurion Devastators, but now they're troops.
It's like, what?
Right.
Just a second ago, those were Devastators, and now they're freaking troops.
Yeah, right? Now, this is cool. This relic's really strong. I like this one. So, and now what's cool about this is... yeah, you don't have to have this as your warlord to give it this relic. This relic allows models that shoot with a ranged weapon or an attack with melee weapons, as a result of the Astartes banner, always attack as if they had a ballistic and weapon skill of 2 up. So that's pretty cool. So when they're doing that, they collapse, they're dead, and they shoot again, they hit on a 2. Yeah, right?
It's as if they become as powerful as freaking Azrael.
Yeah.
With that final shot.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then the other one, the Pennant of the Fallen, models that attack with a melee weapon as a result of the Astartes banner can make 2 attacks instead of 1. I think that's a bit too specific, but still pretty good. And then we've got the last one for the Adeptus Astartes. It's the very last thing, which is the Chapter Champion. It's 1 command point to make him a Chapter Champion. He gets +1 attack and leadership, which is pretty strong. And also, when somebody attacks him in close combat, they get -1 to hit. So we've kind of seen that in a few other special character champions, so that's pretty cool. Then he's Warlord Traits for making him a Warlord. Master Duelist. When resolving an attack with a melee weapon against this Warlord, a hit roll of 1, roll a dice on a 4-up, they get a mortal wound. So basically, it like blocks it and hits them back with a mortal wound. That's pretty nice. Or the other one is Martial Exemplar. Charge rolls for characters within 6 inches can reroll charges. So... you know, I can see both of those being somewhat good if you really want a champion. And then you give him the Blade of Triumph. It's a mastercrafted power sword, and essentially it will give you +2 strength, AP -4, and 3 damage flat. That's...
AP -4?
Yeah, that's pretty strong. So you're looking at a strength 6 model, AP -4, 3 damage. I can see that being used quite a lot. And then the Angel Artifice is the other one. It essentially gives you a saving throw of 2 up and a 4 up and vulnerable save. So I can see people using that. So these are the Adeptus Astartes special rules from Psychic Awakening, Faith, and Fury. Obviously, the book's coming out very soon, so it's well worth getting. Make sure you watch out for our next video because we're going to cover the Black Templars, and then we're going to make a video for each of the individual Chaos chapters. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, come chat to us on Game Talk for Gamers if you've got more questions of any of these things. You can find a link to our Facebook group in the description down below. And of course, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of the other videos. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Oliver.